Okay, welcome back. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to sew the legs together. And you can see here I already have folded one of my legs in half and I've pinned the seam already. This fabric has a lighter side and a darker side. And I think because gray is one of those colors, I think I'm going to have the darker side of my fabric as the right side of my fabric, even though I'm suspecting it's the wrong side of my fabric the way it was woven. So I folded this one with the light side face out. And what I want to show you is when you pin from the crotch to the hem, nothing should be fighting. Okay, so notice how when I pin this, everything just lays nice and smooth with each other. Okay, so from the crotch to the hem, you should be able to fold it in half and have it lay nice. All right, so let's now fold this other leg. I like to lay them out in front of me like this so I make sure I make a right and left leg. And I like to lay it out and then sort of get my inseam to agree. It's gonna agree without forcing it to line up with each other almost all the way to the top. So notice how these edges are even, and then as you get towards the crotch, the front gets a little bit narrower. So see, now they're not even. Okay, so that's how it should lay when it's flat. If you're getting funky twisting down here, then something wasn't cut out right. So when you fold your pattern piece in half, that's how it should look. Okay, so notice equal, and then the front should be a little bit narrower up at the crotch. And then also notice, I'm going to pull this down, the rise in the front is lower than the rise in the back. So you should have this diagonal like this at the waist where the fold is. Okay, so that's how it should look when you fold it in half. And so then it's very easy to pin together. You're just going to pin the bottom of the leg, so it's together. And that's very easy because it lays nicely together. All right, and then I'm going to make these two meet over here. So I'm going to match them. All right, so now that I have both sides pinned, it's time to go to the serger. Okay, so this portion of the video is going to be very fast because we really only have 3 seams to sew, the 2 inseams and then the crotch seam. It's going to be really quick and easy. Before we get going, I want to test the serger with a scrap of the fabric because I might need to adjust my differential feed. If anybody doesn't know what differential feed is, it's the fact that you can control the speed of the front feed dog versus how fast the back feed dog is going. And let me just take my presser foot off quickly to show you. Okay, so you can see here I've got 2 sets of feed dogs. These in the front, you can adjust the speed. These in the back go at a constant rate of speed. Okay, so when you're working with a knit, if you shove it in there a little bit faster than the back is letting it out, it'll compress the knit a little bit and counteract the stretch of it being squeezed under the presser foot. So I never like to go crazy with this kind of thing. I'm just going to put my differential feed on the first setting above neutral, or normal, which means they're going at the same rate of speed. So on my ovation, N means, and on any serger actually, N means both the front and back feed dogs are going the same rate of speed, perfect for stable woven fabric. I'm going to put it on 1.3 and I'm going to see how it looks. Because a mistake you can make with your differential feed is you can actually make it too fast and then it will actually start to gather it up. All right, so let's just see how that looks. It gives me the opportunity to test my stitch too to make sure I like the way that looks. All right, see how that's laying nice and flat? That means that's a perfect setting for this fabric because it's not stretching and it's also not gathering. I just want to show you how it will look if I actually jack the differential feed up too high. I'm going to put it on the maximum setting. Let's see how that looks. I'll do it on the opposite side over here so you can see. All right, so you can see what's happening on this side. You can see that it's actually starting to gather up the fabric. So you want to be really careful with your differential feed setting and you want to make it appropriate for the amount of stretch of your fabric. So always start on a lower differential feed setting, maybe 1 adjustment higher than neutral or normal. On some sergers it may even be 0, but I think most of them have an N as the, the base setting. And then C. And if it's rippling and stretching, then you can move it up one and try it again. So for me, I'm going to leave mine on the first 1.3. So take a minute and serge on a scrap and see how you have to set your differential feed. The rest of my machine is just set up for a 4-thread stretch stitch, and what makes it a stretch stitch is my differential feed being higher than N. I'm going to start at the hem and I'm going to go up the leg. All right, so I'm just going to stick my fabric under there. I'm going to remove my first pin. And I'm going to start stitching. All right, so I'm just going to keep going and I'm going to do my second leg here. All right, let's look and see what we have. All right, so essentially what I've done is I've made 2 tubes. All right, so here's, here's one leg and here's the other leg. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn one of them right side out. Okay, and then I'm going to take the one that I turned right side out and I'm going to put it into my inside out leg. And I'm going to line up my inseams. So I'm just going to shove in the leg that's right side out and I'm going to get it in there like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to match my inseams like this. And I'm going to put a pin there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line up my front crotch and my back crotch. So I'm going to, from the waist to the inseam, there's my front. Okay, I'm just going to put one pin at the top here, and then I'm going to do the same thing in the back. Now, if you're doing this and you're putting it together and you have a front matching up with a back, one of 2 things has happened. Either you forgot to turn it right side out before you inserted it into the leg, or you made 2 lefts or 2 rights. So you'll have to take the inseam out and fix it. So at this point, your back crotch should match your back crotch like this, and the front crotch should match the front crotch. You can see I pinned my inseams pointing towards the back. Okay, this is my back. And to make this sew together nice and easily, so I'm going to start at the front. I have my inseams pointing to the back, and they'll stay pointing to the back because they're going to lay flat as I roll over them with the presser foot. All right, so that's how I'm going to serge this. All right, so I'm just going to stick my top of my front crotch seam right under the presser foot a little bit right there. And I'm going to start serging. And when I get to the inseam, I'm going to make sure both of my tails are ready to get cut off. Okay, see everything's nice and ready here. I'm going to take my pin out. See how nicely that went? All right, so now you can see we have a pair of yoga pants practically. Here's my waist, my crotch, and my legs. Go ahead and try your legs on and see how they fit. If you have questions about how to adjust your pants, if they need to be taken in or if the rise is too high, please post comments below and I will help you fit your pattern. And then join me in the next lesson and I'll show you how to make a custom waistband and finish these yoga pants.